Many traders try to build discipline by pushing harder and forcing themselves to just follow the plan. But what if the reason you keep breaking rules is because you are forcing it? So today we are talking about a different kind of discipline, the kind that doesn't drain your willpower, but it builds your confidence, the kind that actually sticks. You are listening to the Confidence in Trading podcast. I am your host, Agnieszka Wood, a trading mindset coach and a seasoned day trader with over a decade of experience. If you are new to my show, don't forget to subscribe so you can come back for the next episode. In this podcast, we explore the fascinating world of psychology and the human element of trading. We take a deep dive into different perspectives to inspire you and help you navigate the emotional ups and downs of trading with self-compassion and confidence. Whether you're just starting out or you're a seasoned pro, this podcast is your trusted companion providing support on your trading journey. Get ready to boost your confidence and unlock the secrets to mastering your mindset for success. Welcome to episode 70, How to Build the Discipline Every Trader Needs Without Forcing It. Hi, Greg. Welcome back.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Agnieszka. I can't wait. I hope everybody had an amazing Thanksgiving. And let's start this off right. This is going to be amazing. I love this conversation.
Awesome. Awesome. And today I would like to talk about something that traders talk about all the time, discipline. But what most traders never hear is if you are forcing discipline, it's not discipline, it's actually survival. And survival mode never creates consistency. So today I want to chat with you about something that I teach all my traders, compassionate discipline, a completely different approach to discipline, one that doesn't rely on willpower or pressure, because that's not what actually drives discipline trading. So before we dive any deeper, I'm curious, when you hear the phrase compassionate discipline, what comes up for you? What kind of questions does it raise? Because for most traders, discipline is all about force and willpower. This is all how we grew up, right? So this tends to sound a little different.
It does. This is the first time that I have heard the terminology to be used that way. And as an honest, open answer for the first things that come up for me would be allowing yourself the ability to make mistakes while you're formulating your discipline. So to become disciplined in something, you need to become consistent at figuring out whatever it is that is. And you're going to make steps and you're going to fail and you're going to take two steps back and sometimes one step forward. So that idea of compassionate discipline for me just comes out to while you're on your journey of formulating what it means to be disciplined in trading, you have to be compassionate enough to know that you're going to fail and what can you learn from it to help your discipline to move forward. But that would just be an open, honest answer from what I would believe it to be.
This is so good. You have no idea how happy that makes me, because this is exactly what I intended when I created compassionate discipline and where I put it together. And the reason also why I put it together, because if you look at the traditional discipline, it's all about force and pressure and punishment. So yeah, when you think about discipline, at least the way I grew up, and I know that a lot of people grew up the same way, is the discipline that's really built on punishment, pressure, forcing. And that always activates fear, no clarity. This is something that really intensify the emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And most traders try to push through emotions because they are forcing themselves to stay disciplined, but emotions are coming up in trading. There is no other way. And instead of trying to understand them, they try to push themselves through it or suppress it. So forcing discipline, if you think about trading, it just creates more tension, more pressure, and more self-criticism even. And that is what activates your nervous system, because when you feel unsafe, when you know there is a there is a possibility to get punished. There is a possibility to get hurt, because every single loss makes you feel like, okay, I'm gonna experience some pain now. Your nervous system start to feel unsafe and you're being reactive.
Yeah.
If you add the compassion to it, it just creates this much more softer and much more loving environment towards yourself, knowing that, yes, I will be failing, but I don't have to punish myself for my mistakes, because first of all, the environment is not very friendly. And secondly, the conditions are not really working in our favor.
Yeah.
All the time, or most of the time. So yeah, I'm really happy to hear the way that it resonates, just by the name only.
I think it's amazing. When did you come up with it? This is fantastic.
It's so interesting because this has been for years already weaved into everything that I was doing. And this is because I have experienced a lot of discipline when I was growing up. And when I started trading, this same discipline didn't work for me. And I noticed that I needed different approach. I didn't really put that together like in a name at that time yet, but if you look even at my earlier like blogs and all the content, it's so interesting that it was always weaved into it, that part of compassion for yourself, the part of love, and especially the part where you act always in your best interest without being selfish. In fact, and this is really a fun fact, when I was in the Netherlands and doing life coaching, my company was based on the very same principle. It was based on taking care of yourself, loving yourself without being egoistic. And at that time, I came up with this word that did not existed in the dictionary, and I even trademarked it. I remember in the whole Benelux, it was egology.
Yeah.
And it was a modality that was talking about how to love yourself and putting yourself first without being an egoist.
Awesome.
That's why it was egology. So this is actually really where it started. So we are looking over 20 years ago.
This is amazing.
But I brought it into trading, really into into a shape where it is right now. A few years ago, as a true method that I teach traders how to build discipline without forcing yourself, without punishing, without that pressure that activates your nervous system and actually works against you.
Yeah, which makes complete sense because there's so many of us out there, me included, growing up in sports. When I was, having to play basketball or baseball or football or soccer or lacrosse, whatever sport I was playing, they all were basically a punishment in order for you to learn how to become disciplined in what you were doing. Now, they didn't reward you as much as, compassionate discipline probably should. But this is fantastic because it allows everyone the space to accept that you're human.
Right.
And you will make mistakes. And discipline is going to end up being formed through how much are you going to be able to learn through the process of what you want to be disciplined at. And if you want to be super hard on yourself, you can do that. But if that has worked for you in the past, then if that forms your discipline, okay. But compassionate discipline will be a far more easy way and much more beneficial for you to be able to understand discipline at a rate that helps you rather than hurts you.
Right. I mean, there's something to say about, positive reinforcement, because this is a very close concept to positive reinforcement. Like if you do something good, reward yourself for doing something good instead of looking at those things that you haven't and always say, oh yeah, but it could be better. Or, the typical perfectionism in trading, like, yeah, but I know this is working, but all the other 10 things are not working. The problem with it is in trading specifically is that when you are constantly focusing on these negative things, you will find a lot of them, because in trading every day there will be an opportunity to find something negative, right? Oh, and I lost this trade. Oh, how stupid am I? Is it my strategy? Or is it me? What if I'm losing again? And you start activating all those systems inside that are working against you. And what I see from my students is that once you start building this loving relationship with yourself, when you start building all the elements of compassion and discipline, that this whole thing completely changes, because you start treating yourself in a different way, and also you start managing your emotions in a very different way. Compassionate discipline starts with awareness, not suppressing your emotions, but really looking into your body and your mind, and see, okay, so what information am I getting from my system, right? From my emotions, for example. How do you interpret what your emotions are telling you, what your body is telling you?
Yeah. Yeah, because they're always going to give you inclinations of what you're doing. And to be able to weave in the compassionate side really brings in exactly what you're saying, the emotional connection that you have to discipline, because there is an emotional side to it. And if you're going to suppress it by being punished, that means you're going to shove that emotion down further. And at some point, it's going to come out. You're going to have to deal with it. But the compassionate side allows you to deal with it as it's happening, not shoving it aside, understanding it, and then figuring out how you're going to best apply it moving forward.
I know that all traders know I have to be disciplined, right? But discipline in itself is not something that people want because of that negative connotation. I don't know how it was in your life. Like, how is your approach to discipline? Like, if you think discipline is, does it have a positive connotation, like in your body, even on a physical level, or you go like, oh, no.
No, no. Oh, yeah, no, there's an absolute idea that being disciplined is not something that resonates like positively in my head. And that's just due to the fact that being disciplined in so many things that you wanted to be in. Normally, if there's something that you love or something that you really wanted to get into, discipline doesn't even really come into play because you're just going to jump in, you're going to love it, you're going to be there all the time. But for me, it was always disciplined in things that I needed to get better at or people told me I needed to do. And so the discipline side from that was never something that I looked at as welcoming with open arms of, yeah, I can't wait to do that. But I feel like if someone approached me in the beginning and said what you're saying, I feel like my approach to discipline would be vastly different on the things that I knew would provide value for me to get better in life. But yeah, the original idea and concept of discipline was a structure that I didn't have and didn't want at the current time.
Right. And I think this is from my experience from working with traders, is I see that most people have that connotation, that they do feel like, discipline is something to avoid or something that they need, they must have, but rather don't do.
Me included.
It's so interesting how much reframing even the concept can change your internal experience. By applying compassionate discipline, you already feel like, oh, that's something that I can actually do. It's softer for me.
Yeah, there's a softer landing for your mistakes that you're going to make along the way. It's not you're going to hit rock bottom or you're going to need to move forward in certain things. It's a much easier landing for sure.
With that type of discipline, you really stop fighting with yourself, because when you build that relationship with yourself and you stop fighting your emotions, it's almost like you're partnering with yourself within your inner world. You're building that friendship relationship. And when that happens, guess what? You stop sabotaging yourself, because you really feel, I am my best friend. Why would I do that? And it's so interesting to see how it changed for me when I started using this approach. It feels like it changed from one to another day, because you start making choices from a place of love,
Agreed.
not because you have to. And I'm not talking about just trading choices. I'm talking about choices in life, just, you know, with regard to your diet, with regard to what activities you're choosing, and really paying attention, having more awareness, because awareness is one of the basic principles. You have to become more aware of yourself
Yeah.
in order to take care of yourself. It's like giving attention to someone, right? We all want attention. So if there is any of you thinking like, I need some attention, or you notice that you lack some
Yes.
attention, you are lacking the attention from yourself. So when you start building your awareness, you might notice that this is actually the moment where you start feeling good about yourself, because now you're giving yourself the time that you deserve. This whole thing is really the projection of yourself.
Oh yeah. Oh, God, most of what we do is a projection of how we view whether good or bad or positive or negative or, you know, everything that we choose to try and view ourselves as is just a projection of our own basis of what we think is right or wrong or good or bad.
Right.
And that can change when you start to conceptually reframe how you view this world and how you view your choices and what you're going to choose to put your attention toward, or things that you're going to choose to do, whether it's outside of trading or outside of work or whatever it may be. Those are all aspects that you need to have much more compassion toward yourself to understand that, hey, that discipline will become part of what you're going to do, but you're not going to see the results from your discipline for quite some time. And it might not be instantaneous, but having the compassion side toward understanding that it's not going to be instantaneous and discipline just keeps getting built, then
Right.
yeah, I feel like that whole projection of who we think ourselves are will change drastically different.
Yeah. And for trading, it's such a key understanding that this is something that is not going to happen overnight, your success. And a lot of people have that expectation. And this is
Yeah.
one of the reasons why they are pushing themselves so hard. It should have happened already. I have been at this for so long. Why am I not there yet? And beating yourself up for it. While when you approach it
Yeah.
from a compassionate perspective, this changes, and you start seeing that it is a journey, and giving yourself a breather and more space to actually have a fair chance to succeed. And it's funny because when you do that, it actually goes faster than when you pressure yourself, which is ironic, right?
I can
Because
see it.
you're rushing and you're pushing yourself, and then you are getting away from your goal by that. The moment you give yourself the space and you're like, okay, I accept it's going to take longer. Now you see actually the results coming faster, because now you're not pressing and pressuring yourself, and your nervous system reacts in a different way.
Which completely changes your reaction to things, which completely changes how you view things, which completely changes the outcome and the result of what's happening to you. So, starting from square one will only increase the effects and results of square two, three, and four.
My mom was always saying, hurry slow.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
And it's funny because, at that time, I really didn't get it when I was younger, and she would say, I'm like, what does that even mean? And now I definitely see that when you hurry slow, you are actually faster than when you're running around. Let's say you leave the house and you're trying to collect your belongings. Now I ran to my bedroom to grab something, and then I left my phone. Now I have to run back, get my phone. And it's like you're running around like a chicken without a head.
Yeah.
And you're actually losing more time than when you just take a moment, take a breath, and do it slowly. It will be faster. The question that I often get from traders is, if I know better, why don't I just do better? Like if I know it all, like why don't I just do it? Which brings me to what are the reasons that traders break the rules if they know better? Why are they just not executing the rules?
Yeah. And for anyone out there sitting knows that you should do certain aspects of trading, whether that's a support level or a resistance level. Just start with the basic, simple aspect of support and resistance. I recommend everybody starts at that position when I talk to people at trading. Start looking at where things are grouped, where you can start finding support, where you can start finding resistance. If you know that that's a support and resistance line and you break it, why are you doing that? It's it's the simplest question in the world. And that will ultimately, the more you continue to do it, each one, well, from my perspective, each time that you would break a support or resistance line in something that I would put on a chart, that would help me formulate my discipline to go back and not break that rule.
Right.
For me, I had to break it enough times for me to go, ooh, yeah, no, that support line was a real support line. Okay. Yeah, I lost a whole lot more than I should have. And rather than going, no, that's my support line, I am exiting my trade
Right.
or I'm entering my trade, whatever that is. That is the support line that says my discipline is going to tell me this is the structure that I'm going, no matter what happens. If I'm going to lose money there, I'm going to lose money there. If I'm going to gain money there, I'm going to gain money there. That's it. But we continue to break those because our discipline, I feel as though, hasn't taught us enough lessons.
Yeah, and I think there is a big part of the integrity because if you agree with yourself on something, then you hold yourself to it only if you have that integrity, right? If you don't build your integrity with yourself, which is again
Sure.
part of your relationship with yourself, then you're just not gonna keep the word to yourself. And I think there is a mismatch between the identity and your nervous system. And the identity, when I talk about identity, I'm talking about the beliefs that people have that don't match the behavior that they're trying to maintain. Your mind will sabotage the action to stay consistent with the belief because your emotional needs, which is your need for certainty, your need for safety, or validation, or even simply relief, just like, just let's just end it. I just don't want to feel the discomfort. Just like, I don't even care about the result anymore. Just let's end it. Those emotional needs will always override logic in microseconds. It just will. And your old subconscious patterns like fear of loss, fear of missing out, everyone knows that one, right? Or fear of being wrong, even, they will hijack the moment before your conscious mind can even intervene. One thing that I stress all the time that is like the basis of compassionate discipline is there's nothing wrong with you. Sometimes even we say things as a joke, and I always say, try to dig deeper. If you say, for example, I don't know if I can be fixed, even if you make it that statement as a joke, really go in and see how much truth is in there. Because if any part of you, even the smallest one, believes that there is something wrong with you, that's a sabotaging belief that it's going to stand in your way to have the integrity to stick to your plan. Because why would you trust someone that you think there's something wrong with that person? Like, how would you be willing to follow the lead of that person? It's like, this person is crazy, or I cannot trust this person. Yeah, let's do what he says. You would never do that. So your subconscious is going to automatically protect you from doing that. And this is how you start sabotaging yourself. It's not that you are undisciplined, you are unaligned.
Great word.
You are running an old emotional program that is simply stronger than your self-awareness in that moment. The problem is that when those old programs run the show, when you trade, your discipline becomes a battle instead of just part of you, just your behavior. And that's the difference with compassionate discipline, that it becomes part of you. It's not a trick that you do. It is just the way that you are showing up for your trading, but mostly that's how you show up for yourself.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. I would echo that most people, you are not broken, just your process is.
Right.
And if you start to recognize that through compassionate discipline, that it's not you that is broken. You as a human being are not. It is the behaviors, it is the learned lessons, it is the experiences, it is the exposure. All of those things are running your subconscious levels of thought process. But that means that you had to learn them at some point. You can learn other things. You are not broken, just your process is. And that's where compassionate discipline, I believe, hearing you speak about it, would be incredibly helpful for people to recognize that they're just running a default mode of what they've been exposed to or know. And because they've learned it in earlier stages of life or a few years ago, that doesn't mean you can't learn something new. That's where the compassion side comes in. You can let that go. You're not broken, just your processes.
It's such a deep belief. If you think about yourself that there's something wrong with you, that just influences everything, every moment, how you show up for yourself, how you look at other people. And we talked about perception is projection, how you perceive your whole world, right? Because then you only tend to notice those things that are not good, that are not working for you. Another evidence of why something is gonna turn out bad for you again. So it's a very important part of your identity, how you see yourself, how you perceive the world, and what beliefs you have. I would like to bring compassionate discipline a little bit more to the trading desk, so to say, because we can talk about it as a concept, but how does it actually look in a live trading day, compassionate discipline? And I like to talk about it as a like how you prepare for your day, how you reset after your trading day, and how you sit in front of your charts. What kind of routines do you build in your life to support you? Because I see this more as a trading is more of a lifestyle than just a sort of a job, but it is really it's a moment by moment skill that becomes part of your entire trading lifestyle. It is not just like, oh, so I'm just gonna, if I take a loss, I'm just gonna tell myself, oh, it's okay.
Yeah,
that's that's
that
not
is
gonna
not.
do the trick. Okay. This is not what it is. It's more moment by moment self-awareness and intentional action. And I cannot stress enough how much importance intention has in our life for trading, but for everything else. Do you ever ask yourself when you wake up, what is my intention for the day? I always ask these questions for to my students, like, what is your intention for today?
For me personally, this was years ago that I had started the process of before I get out of bed. So before my feet hit the ground, I would usually just sit on the side of the bed and take a deep breath and go, I'm going to have the best day I can have today.
That's awesome.
And that's before I start my day. Now, the reason I say that is because I'm going to have the best day that I can have today. Like right now, I don't. I'm a little bit under the weather coming back from vacation, and weather changes and snowing in New York, and now back here. It's I'm going to have the best day that I can today, and that means that I'm going to give the best that I can, and I'm going to get the results that I get that day, and that's going to be the best that I can do in that day. So my intention is always set out to, yeah, my energy levels are going to be different. My my exposure to things is going to be different. My knowledge in certain differences is going to be, maybe more, maybe less. But no matter what it is, I'm going to try to have the best day that I can. That's where my intent always starts.
That's so beautiful because that means really doing the best with what you have at that particular moment. So always be actually happy where you are and looking at what I can do with what I have and make the best out of it, right?
Always.
And that's such a great approach instead of looking at, oh, but I still don't have this. Oh, I wish I had that. And,
Yeah.
I'm not saying don't dream because I am a big fan of daydreaming. I always look into the future and thinking, hey, wouldn't it be wonderful if this happens? I think the approach, how you do that from that compassionate perspective is be happy, like you say, with what you have. And then sort of imagine not like, oh, I wish I had that, but more, wouldn't that be great?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be wonderful? Wouldn't that be fantastic? Just by saying it, I
Yeah.
get goosebumps, because I bring it into the realm of possibilities.
Agreed. Do you start your what do you have intentions that you start your day with?
I do. I actually journal. I have this 10 questions, and every day I go through those 10 questions, and it's so interesting because they are the same, but the answers differ. Every day is different.
That's
So the
awesome.
questions is, for example, what are you happy with today? Like, what are you happy with right now? And then the second question is, what about this makes you happy? And it's just so interesting when you start digging into this, and then it goes about, love and appreciation. What are you grateful for? So I go through all
Yeah.
that, and that helps me to raise my energy and start my day with already high frequency thoughts, which just makes me realize how fortunate I am in my life. And I already start my day really, really good. My intention is to keep that energy regardless of what happens. My intention for every day is to keep my energy high, and very intentionally doing that throughout the day. So if I have a losing day, which, depending on how volatile it is and what decisions I made, it might bring my energy down, right? So my next step is intentionally raise my energy so that, it's not like, oh yeah, I'm so happy with my red day. No, it does influence your energy, but I don't want to stay in there,
Yeah.
because if I stay in a lower frequency energy, it's just going to attract more of it. So, so my intention is always keep the momentum and always get back to the higher frequency thoughts, because the impact of that is incredible. Like it just impacts your health, your mental health. It impacts you on the cellular level,
Agreed.
which, if you want to keep high quality of life, you got to take care of those things and take care of yourself. So this is my way of taking care of myself.
Yeah. And I think that's beautiful because your form of discipline is different than other people's form of discipline. And that's, you've had enough compassion for yourself to be able to figure out what it means for you to do that, and helping people understand what it means for discipline for them in a compassionate way is extremely helpful. God, especially in trading, because there's so many things that we can't control, that figuring out a way to be nicer to yourself and then figuring out how to build yourself back up is one of the most productive things that you can possibly do in trading.
Yeah. It's funny, speaking of discipline, uh, my parents will always say to me, "Oh my God, you are so disciplined." And it's really ironic because they were the ones who were forcing discipline on me. I was really disciplined as a child, but this is not where my discipline comes from. And when I see my parents, they are actually not that disciplined, So it's really funny to see that I started being disciplined when I switched the way that I approach discipline. And yes, if you look from outside, yes, I am very disciplined, but none of those things that I'm doing consistently and regularly, and, like really having rhythm and pretty rigid routine and the things that I do in my life, none of it really cost me effort. And that's why it's so easy to do them.
How long would you say, just a ballpark, how long would you say that transition took for you to go from the old concepts of discipline to the new formation of, hey, you know what? Maybe I don't have to punish everything that I do about discipline. Maybe I could be a little bit easier.
Yeah, I think because the biggest part of it was the self-love part, and really
Yeah.
acknowledging, that I am worth of love and that I am loved, and giving myself that attention. It took about a year for me to switch that and truly understand that I am worthy of all that I want, that I am worthy to find myself important enough to actually give those things that I need to myself.
Yeah. Amazing.
And from there, it was really building the routines and building the things that I had to discover, like what are the things I want to do, which are the things that, you know, like for example, I do not go to the gym. I truly do not enjoy gym, like working out on those machines. And, I could have forced myself to do that, but I have tried so many different workouts until I found something that I really enjoyed. And I think this is the part of compassionate discipline where you really start looking at yourself instead of pushing yourself into being someone that you think you want to be, but it's not really aligned with who you already are.
Yeah, I would agree.
So that building that awareness is big part of compassionate discipline, just accepting yourself the way you are and then work from there to whatever you want to improve, but not from a place like there's something wrong with me and I need to change myself completely, because you are who you are and you have so many good things about you. Build on that.
Yeah, it's a vast difference when you can start to recognize that you don't come at it from a place of deficit. Come at it from a place of abundance.
Right. And I think it's important to understand that true discipline is a byproduct of a regulated nervous system, because when you keep pushing yourself and telling yourself there is something wrong with you, your nervous system is going to try to protect you and always react out of that survival mechanism. And this is why it is so hard to keep the discipline. But if you are regulating your nervous system, if you are giving and creating all the conditions around yourself where you can actually relax, the discipline becomes a byproduct and you don't have to force anything. And that's the beauty of it. And that's when people will say, oh my God, you're so disciplined. And you go like, am I? Okay, I guess.
You say so.
Right. So really, really being in alignment with who you are and not with who you wish to be.
Yeah. The only way you're ever going to get to be where you want to be will be with having some sort of discipline designed into your life that suits you and is something that puts you in a position that you want to be in.
Right, right. We talked about identity. The way that you created identity is using your self-talk. We had a whole episode about self-talk.
We did.
Negative, positive. So for you guys who haven't listened to that episode yet, please make sure you do.
I highly recommend that one. That was one of my favorites because it was a life changer for me for sure.
It's pretty amazing, right? It's like our self-talk is like this operating system. When we talk harsh to ourselves, then we just make fear-driven decisions. And when you talk compassionately, with love, with self-respect, with integrity, now you start building confidence. And it's a completely different story.
Yeah, it is because you will start to recognize that one of the things that you're lacking is confidence, is your own ability to prop yourself up, your own ability to believe in yourself. Because the more that you can start to believe in yourself, then that means that less you have to depend on other people.
Right.
Because if someone else says that you're great and they have to prop you up, the moment they're not there, your confidence tumbles drastically. But if you could start going from even a third party perspective, and we've covered this in the entire episode, start using your own name, being like, come on, Greg, you can do this. I know you can do this. Come on, Greg, you're going to be way better at this. I know that you're going to be amazing. What you're doing is now you're talking to yourself in a third person by using your name, going, come on, I know you can do this, Greg. Get there. And you become your biggest advocate.
And this is such a great point, like everyone wants to control their emotions, right, in trading. But people don't realize that when you are relying on other people to make you feel good, you are giving that control away. Because now, depending on what other people say, or maybe even give you a wrong look, now you're feeling a certain way. And if you don't have the skill of self-talk developed enough and the awareness that you are actually being controlled by whatever someone else is saying or projecting on you, then you are going to be out of control. So this is another dimension of really controlling emotions and how your decisions are being taken, because based on how you feel, you make those decisions. So it's such an important part to be in control of how you feel. This is maybe even more important than controlling my fear, controlling my emotions. Is like really controlling how you feel and being aware of you have that control.
Always.
Do you ever say to people, you make me feel this way? You made me feel like this.
Oh, I used to. Oh God, I used to. That used to be my default reaction. I can't believe you just made me feel that way. That's unbelievable. I cannot believe you just got me that angry. They didn't.
Right.
You allowed it. You allowed yourself for that to affect you, or you allowed yourself for them to blame you, or then you just start taking responsibility for it, and then you can start to say, no, you can think that way, but that doesn't mean I need to be angry. Or you can do that. That doesn't mean I need to do that with you.
Yeah, you can just simply not react. And that's the whole thing in trading. Like the moment you
Yeah,
start building that skill and you're more compassionate for yourself and you can stay away from reacting, now you can stay away from making impulsive trades too. And that's the beauty of it. It's like, okay, now I'm in control of myself. The whole world can do whatever they want, stand on their head, but I know that I can trust myself and that I won't react.
all the time, because you're never going to get an apology from the market.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. And when you trade in alignment with who you believe you are, that like it changes everything. Just imagine if you believe as a trader, I can trust myself, you will behave in ways that will confirm that belief because we always want to be right. And this applies to everything,
always.
your beliefs about money, about the effort, about winning, losing, or even about how much you think you're worth. And that will show up in your entries, your exits, your risk management, in every single decision you make every day. And this is where, when you start shifting that identity into, I'm a trader who always act in my best interest, then you don't have to force anything. You just, this is really the bottom line. Your identity sets the ceiling for your consistency. What you believe you are gonna act on. And this is why compassionate discipline isn't really an option, but it's foundational because you cannot outperform the identity that you hold about yourself as a trader.
Oh, brilliantly said. Brilliantly said. I would say the more that you start to recognize what compassionate discipline really should be in your life and listening to laying it all out, I would easily say that for me, compassionate discipline would be the floor of what you're going to allow yourself to be. And the more that you can become disciplined and the more that you can apply compassion to it, then you're raising the floor of what you're capable in life. Because then you're going to be able to become far better at losing, at gaining, at learning, at failing, at winning. Those are going to be all aspects that you're just going to continue to raise the floor of what you're capable of doing because your ceiling should be unlimited.
Absolutely. And it's not about being soft because a lot of times, people, especially when they are used to traditional discipline, they're tough, right? They know it's like with toughness,
Yeah.
I can just push through it. And this is what most traders are trying and getting stuck. But it is not about being soft. It's really about being strategic. And it's about building that internal environment emotionally, mentally, but even neurologically that allows consistency to finally become possible. Because when you start to understand yourself, when you know how to regulate your emotions, when you know how to create that support system around you, then you can stop trading from fear and start trading from the inner strength because now you trust yourself and you know that you have that support system you can rely on. And this is when your action starts to align with your goals. And then following your plan becomes like your sort of second nature because you stop questioning it. That's the biggest thing. It's like traders don't follow their plan because on a subconscious level, they keep questioning it. Is it right? Is it not? Am I going to get stopped out? Am I going to get this? Am I going to lose money? And then you start shaking yourself out of your decisions and out of your intentions. That's when you finally, when you start acting in a compassionate, disciplined way, that's when you become the trader that you have been trying to force yourself to be
Agreed.
all this time. Yeah. Well, to everyone, if this resonates with you and you want to start building compassionate discipline in a real and structured way, this is exactly what I do inside my coaching programs. And you can Start with the do-it-yourself trading mindset mastery journey, or join the waitlist for the Rise Up of the Profitable Trader coming again in March. And then you can build compassionate discipline together with me in a guided setting. So if you are ready to follow your plan with more confidence, patience, self-trust, so that you can finally build real consistency, go to aheadcoach.com and check it out. Thank you, Greg, for joining us today and this wonderful conversation as always.
I absolutely loved it. I learned a ton. This was not structured. This is just us having a conversation. So this is me learning real time, and I absolutely loved it. And I shouldn't say that. I know everyone else listening just became better for sure.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. We'll see you in the next episode. Take care. Thank you for listening to the Confidence in Trading podcast. If you are enjoying my show, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts and tell me what you like about it. Thanks to you, more traders will be able to find me, and together we'll make a bigger impact. So thank you so much. If you are new to my show, don't forget to subscribe so you can come back for the next episode. And make sure to also check some of the previous shows. Thank you again for tuning in. This is Agnieszka Wood from Ahead Coach. Bye for now.